You're watching Soccer Night in Detroit.
And from the grassroots of Detroit soccer all the way to U.S. Soccer's second division, this is Detroit City FC. Goal for Detroit City. What a play by Alec Krasinski.
Monday with the right foot. It's in the back of the net.
Jupe curls in and bangs it in off the post. Antez Jupe, are you serious with that? Header!
Welcome to a special edition of Soccer Night in Detroit. We are here at Harry's Bar, just down the street from where this gentleman will be going this evening
for roller derby as we record this.
Yes.
So we were originally going to do it on Zoom, but the stuff we're about to throw was too large for my messaging system. Email to it, so the next best thing, closest to Masonic.
Yeah, and so, I mean, it is, like I said, a very special edition because I sat down with Connor Tobin, the executive director of the USL Players Association. And, of course, the big story in the offseason right now is the ongoing talks for new CBA for the players.
Yeah, I know. And a lot of time we heard anything about CBA, we heard how they had during the title game when both Tulsa and Pittsburgh Riverhounds, the champions who won the game, wore T-shirt Pro-Al, Tri-Pro Standard. They got insulted, and they didn't have a trophy ceremony. We all thought it was CBS trying to fool with us. You know what I mean? But the interview I just listened to was a very insightful interview, and it lasted 30 minutes. And
yeah. So we'll like I said, sat down with Connor Tobin. We'll hear what he has to say about the current goings on as far as the contract negotiations and what their intentions are for as far as getting an agreement done. So let's get right to that interview. We are here today with a very special guest, Connor Tobin, Executive Director of the USLPA, as we are getting into the late stages here of this contract. As you know, the CBA will end on December 31st, and we just wanted to take some time out with him and figure out what's going on as far as this CBA deal goes. Connor, how are you doing this afternoon?
Not too bad. Thanks for having me on.
Okay. First off, how are these negotiations going at this time as we move closer to the December 31st end of the contract?
They're continuing. We continue at the same process we've been at since August of 2024.
Okay. For those who are uninformed, what are the key issues in regards to getting a CBA done with USL?
Yeah, I think from a player perspective, key in this negotiations has been compensation, particularly at the back end of the rosters. I think we've been talking about employer-provided healthcare and professional standards. Professional standards is a little bit amorphous because it can touch on a lot of things, but things like how many appearances can you be obligated to go do, for how long, how much control of your time, how much notice do they need to give you, things like that.
So just simple, basic, simple, basic professional standards. I mean, understand that, most clubs don't provide like even stipends for housing and stuff like that, or even say like, even proper health care, proper training professionals there.
Yeah, I mean, I think the best way to classify the current landscape is under the USL business model, where the league is a privately held franchisor and each individual club is an individual franchisee that's given quite a bit of autonomy to run its own business. I would say the defining feature is a tremendous amount of variance. Club A is way different than Club B. That means on all of these fronts, how the club operates can vary tremendously. And what we're trying to do is create a minimum standard as a professional player at this level. No matter what club you're at, there should be some things that are steady state across those. Even if Louisville decides to operate different than Detroit, those things shouldn't affect whether, hey, you have access to healthcare policy. It shouldn't affect, the amount of notice that you're given that, hey, your time's going to be tied up with an appearance, things like that. There should not be variance from club to club. But historically, because USL, as the franchisor, has done very little to regulate any of this, the way the business has developed with each of these individual clubs over the last decade plus, everyone's going in all different directions on a number of fronts.
And when you're talking like, I mean, say like in the championship alone, you got 25 different clubs right now. Every club has its own direction on how they want to operate their business. Whether it be, say like a club like London United, for example, how they operate their business is far from what, say, Louisville City would operate their business, or how Pittsburgh would run their business, or how Tulsa would run their business, or how Las Vegas would run their business.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same tension that you would have no matter what sports league you're in. What is the level of centralization and standardization that you'd have through the league, and then what level of centralization would you have, and when and where is that latitude given? And then where we're particularly concerned from a players association is how does that impact the on the ground experience for the players, no matter what club they're at.
Very, very well spoken. In regards to the situation that happened with North Carolina SC, have there been other defunct clubs that have handled their situations in similar circumstances?
Yeah, I mean, this is something that we're dealing with year over year. I think historically, if you go back before we ever got to this first CBA, the way USL handled this and the clubs handled it is you got nothing. So you might have a guaranteed contract for the upcoming year. They fold, your contract's amended to end this year. You have no say in it. You don't get any future compensation, off you go. So the first round of bargaining in 2021, well, lasted for 3 years. So it was really spring of 2019 all the way up until November of 2021. Like, we fought over this issue to say there needs to be protection for these guys. You have a contract, that owner is opting into providing that contract and he's agreeing on it. Why should he get out from that if he decides to fold the club? Now, if we have to get a starting point in this, and there's a number of other issues, given that all of this kind of environment was not regulated historically. So what we settled on is 2 months, but 2 months of pay when a club decides to fold it, when you might have another year in your contract or 2 years, quite frankly, is not good enough. And I think the secondary piece on this is it's not good enough from that particular owner that makes that decision, but it's not good enough from the league itself, because what are they doing to backstop any of this?
Okay. The next question I have deals with what happened in Tulsa. Uh, Players walked out at the beginning of the match wearing shirts saying USL Pro Rel question mark, try pro standards first. As far as what happened in Tulsa with the lack of a trophy presentation, do you feel that it was a result of what happened during the walkout for the match, and do you feel that it was done in bad faith by league officials?
Yeah, I don't know if the term I would use would be bad faith. I think it was a reaction, most definitely, to the shirts. I think from a player point of view, we've been handling our business behind the scenes in negotiations, trying to say, hey, we are concerned that the player experience, particularly at the back end of the rosters, is out of whack with what you're projecting publicly. It's great to have big, ambitious things. Let's move towards this as an ecosystem. But in terms of the on the ground reality, this has got to evolve. And putting these future state things in front of that conversation feels like a little bit of the order of operations is incorrect. We've been saying that at the bargaining table. I think players feel that that has not been fully heard. So fair play to the players on Tulsa and Pittsburgh to go make a statement on behalf of all players about where they felt that was. Now, I believe in the moment the league reacted to that. I think that translated into how the trophy presentation went down. I think there might have been worry about the continued amplification of what players are saying. That piece is disappointing because in that moment, for the players on Pittsburgh, in a lot of cases, you're working your whole career to have that moment, and to take it away because you're worried about players using their voice. That shows maybe the level of respect the league office has for players.
I would kind of agree on that because, I mean, these players worked hard all season long. In fact, some of these players worked their whole careers to come to this moment. And then to be faced with a situation where, okay, here's your trophy, do what you want with it. We're not going to have a big celebration for you. And, at first when I was watching the match, okay, I figured they were going to cut away, yeah, big college football. Like, my feeling was Oregon and USC could wait it. But but the
I don't
thing,
think it's about the broadcast piece of this. Like that's
yeah,
more of a contractual thing, and that's a CBS decision. Again, I don't view this as necessarily, hey, we're going to get even with the players. I think it was worried about amplification of this. Now, what is particularly eye-raising to me is that moment where players are celebrating, lifting the trophy with the cannons going off happens in just about every league. And that's a really important moment because it's about all the marketing collateral you take from that. So that should tell you something here that the decision to take away that moment, to not have all these future use cases, for sponsors or wherever this is, that should tell you something about where the league's
yeah,
mentality was around players using their voice.
absolutely, absolutely. So now, if there's not an agreement by December 31st, is there an absolute drop dead date in which there's like no way out that there will end up being a work stoppage at any point?
Yeah, I think it's a little hard to tell. There's a lot of time between now and December 31st, and there's a number of scenarios. What I'd say from a players' union perspective is, hey, we're committed to getting to a deal, but that deal needs to be equitable to players. And then when I say equitable, I mean it's equitable not just between players and their clubs, but the league itself. Again, this ecosystem is completely unique where the league is privately held, and I don't think a lot of people understand that. Their financial interests are separate and apart from the clubs. So we really have three entities at this. There is no doubt there is a ton of energy input from players into that to create a good product. There's no doubt in terms of building the infrastructure of this sport in this country that clubs have put in a lot of effort, owners have put in a lot of effort and capital to do that. I think the question comes in a lot of this balanced conversation is what is the input from a league office? What does that look like? And that is a different conversation than in other sports leagues. But again, because the league itself is its own LLC. So what are their benefits? How are they benefiting off of this versus what is the contribution?
Precisely. So going back to an article, this was months ago, and I'm sure you were aware of this. Article in The Athletic about Loudon United and the issues that plague that club. Have there been any other instances where professional standards have not been met accordingly? I'm talking, of course, of players bringing their own kids home to wash and stuff like that, not proper facilities and whatnot. I mean, they shared facilities with their previous owners, which was DC United at the time. When DC United backed out, it seemed like everything went to hell, shall we say?
Yeah, I'd say again, when I come back to there's been a range of experiences with the league's business model. Historically, there was no regulation. Now, this first CBA set the absolute bare bones minimum of like, how do we even get clubs to start marching in any sort of direction? This subsequent agreement that we're negotiating is like, how do we actually get to a real professional standard now? But yeah, like, how far back do you want to go? The range of circumstances, like historically, I mean, USL used to set the competition where you're playing back-to-back nights. Like you don't have to go back too far to get to some of these sorts of things where, hey, the player experience is completely lacking professionally. Now, I think there's a recognition from a player end. If you're going to change something, there's a pace of change to that. I think that's also why you saw in 2021 us agree to a collective bargaining agreement that it was a step forward versus no regulation, but it wasn't a very big step forward. And now we're coming back to the table and saying, hey, for the sake of continuing to evolve this, we might have taken a quarter step or half step. We've got to get to a full step here. And where we're getting pushback is what is that full step?
precisely there. Okay, how many clubs do you feel though fall short of basic professional standards? I'm not saying just throw a random number out there or anything. Shall we say? Like I said, is there a percentage of clubs in both USL League One and the championship that fall short of the basic professional standards?
I'm not here to talk about Division One because we're not currently negotiating for that group.
Yeah,
That's
I meant League
separate
One.
bargaining unit. And
Yeah,
hey, when you start to think about pyramid, I don't think you have to go too far to say if we're pushing for professional standards at a championship level, what's the implication of that in terms of League One and where that standard's at? I do think, uh, again, there is a range, and it's not just linear to say, hey, this club's professional, this club's not, because by what topic are we talking?
well, we
And
were
by
just
what thing are we talking? And it's much more dynamic. And I'd rather, again, I think the piece from our end isn't about, hey, what clubs are onside or offside or how many. It's about, hey, each of these individual standards that we're talking about that touch our workplace conditions, how do we get to what is a professional standard no matter what club you're at?
fair enough on that one. So, I okay. As far as the salary goes, and we discussed this prior to that. And of course, we were throwing numbers off of an ESPN report, and we are definitely not talking Division One because, as far as I'm concerned, those are pie in the sky numbers at this point, and we're looking at 3 years down the road. So, are we looking at raising the minimum player salary overall in both leagues? Are they going to be separate by each league? Say like uh, League One, there's a minimum salary in that league, and in the championship, there's a minimum salary in that.
Again, I think maybe it's important to understand that our labor union has different bargaining units. So championship players is his own bargaining unit. League One players are his own bargaining unit. What that means is they're going to have separate CBAs with separate terms. They have separate lanes. So our League One CBA, we're not currently negotiating. That deal runs through 2027. So they have their own set
Okay,
of standards. We're not at the table discussing those. We're only at the table discussing championship standards.
fair enough.
I would say very much from a players association standpoint, we are concerned with the minimum threshold in terms of player experience and in the USL championship in this negotiation. We are trying to say no matter where you are on the roster, hey, what does that look like economically, workplace condition wise? And then, hey, these basic processes that should be in place, like how do you implement them? So we have always approached this from a players association standpoint, looking to set minimum standards.
Yeah. Given the timeline that we are in, with a World Cup on the horizon, how important is to get this deal done so that we can get this season started on time?
Yeah. I think there's no question that this moment in terms of US soccer, you only host domestic World Cups every so often. Obviously, we had our first one in '94. It was a huge inflection point for the sport in this country. I think, this World Cup here in 2026 has garnered a lot of the same conversation and excitement. I think it has the potential to be the same sort of inflection point. One of the things personally I've always been focused on is, hey, World Cup's going to come. It's going to be awesome. But come mid-July, it's gone. What then? Where's the sport then? How do we grow from that experience? One of the things that I always look at is within the US soccer pyramid, particularly from a pro end of things, how do we continue to push that standard? Because we push it at a base level, that's going to push the levels above it, and that eventually trickles to the national team. Over the last, however many decades you want to talk in terms of lower division soccer, and there's been a lot of iterations of this, too many good players have left the sport because it's not viable economically. Hey, it's better to go to get a job. I'll use my college degree. It's a better way to support my family. But we always have this attrition of good players out of the sport. If we are losing players because it's not based on, hey, are you good enough? Like we are hurting our overall level as a country. We need better players to stay in the sport for longer. That will push the overall standard of play at this level, which will push the levels of play above this. And there is a knock-on effect that will go all the way to our national team. I believe with this World Cup coming, like this conversation that we're having about how we make this viable at this level for professionals is a really big deal.
Yeah, you don't want to be losing players. Say like, I'll take for instance a couple Lou City players that have moved on from the like Josh Winder, Elijah Winder, um, Wilson Harris, for example. All three very talented players ended up moving on to different aspects of professional soccer. Say like um, with Wilson Harris playing in the Israeli league. I believe it was Josh Winder that's playing for Benfica right now. Better opportunity there. Also, Elijah Winder moving on to the LA Galaxy in MLS as well. So, in order to keep those players and all that, obviously you got to raise the minimum standards there as far as salary goes and make it affordable so that they can enjoy the playing the game itself.
I actually think the point I'm making is not about those players. I think USL can be a
Oh,
great
agree,
launch
agree.
point for those players to go on. What I'm talking about is the player that maybe be a very solid USL player, roster guy, maybe starter, that's coming to the end of their current agreement and is saying, hey, I'm going to retire and pursue another profession.
Hmm.
Losing those players are the ones that I'm really worried about because, hey, that attrition of those, again, we have players coming into the ecosystem. Are they getting there because, hey, they're better than that other player? It's one thing if like someone comes in and let's say someone that's within there loses their job because someone's a better player. Like that's the natural competition we sign up for all the time. It's different when you're saying, hey, he's going to be replaced by a player, not because he's better, but because this player says this is not economically viable. That's the point I'm making of like we are hurting our level because we've got to make it viable enough for these players to stay in the sport for longer and to pursue this career as long as they choose. And then, hey, if that happens from a merit perspective, there's a better player that comes to replace you. Like, hey, that's the sport. That's professional sports.
Right.
Like that will happen.
Yeah. Good example of that around here would be Nate Steinwacher, for example. Great goalkeeper, played his college ball at University of Detroit Mercy, played for several years for Detroit City FC. He ended up playing a role in the 2020 2021 NISA championships and then moved on into the USL championship. Obviously became a CB or CPA. The money that he's making off the CPA is better than what he was doing between the posts for Detroit City FC. Matt Lewis, another example, he went into real estate after several years. I mean, playing for the Cosmos, playing for Detroit City FC, playing for the Kansas City Comets in indoor league as well. Trying to make a living playing soccer, but he found a lucrative real estate business and moved on to that.
Those are the players we're talking about. And again, you don't solve this overnight. It's not about never having any of these because every individual situation is different. It's about continuing to have a progression to make those sort of situations less and less frequent. Unfortunately, in the lower leagues and across USL, this is way too frequent of a conversation.
Absolutely, it is, and you want to see these players move up. You want to see, like I was talking about it earlier, players like the Harrises and the Winders of the world. You want them to move up and succeed in the profession. You don't want situations where it's like, "Hey, I got a second job. I can fall back on this second job because my club's not paying me enough to keep this job or enjoy
I
this
also
job."
think if we keep better players in this for longer, we're going to make a more compelling product that goes on the field.
And that's going to be appealing, especially in a day and age where you have, you know, I don't want to say Apple finally decided to pull. I mean, there's still a paywall there, but they finally decided to pull the double paywall out of MLS. USL right now is the most accessible league in the United States as far as men's soccer goes. You could watch a game, you could watch it, you could watch it locally, you could watch it nationally if you wanted to, say on CBS Sports Golazo, CBS Sports Network, ESPN2, whatever. They are more accessible than what MLS is. I mean, grant you got a few games on Fox once in a while, but most of their games were behind a paywall, except for the playoffs this year, believe it or not. But now they're pulling back from that double paywall into a single paywall as far as that goes. Yeah, you have a paywall on USL as well, but it's a little bit easier to afford ESPN Plus sometimes. Well, I don't know about nowadays with the unlimited, but it it seems that USL is more accessible to the fans than MLS has been, at least in the last couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, again, each of these are separate businesses. They're going to make their decisions on that. I think what we're focused on from a player association is, hey, for this level, how do we find balances where this business is at, and how do we continue to try to find ways to grow it? But that conversation needs to be collective. League, clubs, players, how do we all meet to define what is balance between everyone, where the business is now, is the business going, and how do we continue to have balance as we work through that collectively?
We keep hearing all this talk about clubs and their you know situations. Obviously, here in Detroit, the new stadium going in there. Sacramento for another one. Pittsburgh we're doing renovations to improve their situation and all that stuff. But they don't. It seems like they don't take time to focus in on the fact that the players make the show.
Yeah, I understand it from a club perspective in the sense that, hey, we have to continue to upgrade how we package the product. We are still building the infrastructure of the sport in this country, building the stadiums, building the training facilities. Those are big CapEx expenditures that owners and ownership groups are trying to put together, and that's a big commitment. I think what we're talking about is like, how does the player experience stay with balance with some of this in terms of directionality? And then I think, to be fair to club owners, what is their financial balance vis-a-vis the league? If the club owners are putting in these big cap expenditures and taking on this sort of risk to go and develop new stadiums and spend hundreds of millions of dollars, what does the league put into the ecosystem? What sort of investments are they making? Or are they an entity that is taking money out of this?
And of course, I mean, I've always said that the players are the mainstay of the whole entire operation. Without the players, we wouldn't have a product. And I mean, 100% on that. But the thing is, like I said, I mean, you got players need to be taken care of first and foremost, 100%. Whether it be having a decent housing stipend, health care, just basic health care, where you can, you don't have to pay out of pocket, to treat like an ACL injury, for example. You've got to have some type of, let's see, you guys have some type of leverage there as far as that goes. You got to have some type of protection from the club itself to say, hey, okay, we know it's a bad deal. You're out, for this long, but hey, we're going to help take care of this situation, or we are going to take care of this in full.
For sure. And all of these things are about basic protections. How do you treat people as humans first? It's all part of the conversation. But again, I know that I'm beating this over the head here. It's about balance.
Not about being
Hey,
over the head.
hey, this is a business that is growing. It's going to take expenditures. How do you find balance? Within that, we can't tilt to a place where we ignore the player experience. At the same time, like, if we only went player experience, we're not improving the packaging of the product. So what is the balance and intention of that? And then what is unique about USL? Hey, in other sports leagues, take MLB, for example. If I buy an MLB franchise, I'm really 1/30th of the league. And so, hey, we collectively as owners, we employ the commissioner. We employ the league office to work on our behalf. And that league office works on behalf of all 30 owners. That is not the USL model. When you buy a franchise, you run your own business. You don't have a say in league operations. And so when the league is making money on something, what is the flow of capital back to its clubs? How does that matriculate? It is a different model. And this is where I'm saying, like, balance is a broader conversation than just clubs to players. It also is league in this environment.
And especially if you're getting TV contracts and all, where's that money trickling down to? And if it's not trickling down to the clubs, then what is it trickling down to?
Yeah. And that is the
More
conversation.
Yeah,
It's
more,
very dynamic in terms
more
of
real
marketing.
estate development. You're building. You're saying, oh, we're gonna put a USL franchise in Santa Barbara. We're gonna put a USL club in Dallas. We're gonna put a USL club in Brooklyn. Yada yada yada. But it's up to those cities to provide the club so that they could have have USL sanctioning that.
Who makes the decision on where USL expands to?
I would say I'm thinking more or less you got you got Papadakis, New Rock, and their real estate dealings and all that stuff. Because I'm
Let me ask
thinking
this. Let me ask it a different way. Do current owners that have a championship franchise have any say in new franchises that come into USL Championship?
absolutely not.
Think about that for a second.
Yeah,
That- That's some of the piece around how do we find balance?
yeah, yeah. Because I mean, it's not that the say like the clubs aren't coming together. It's like, oh, you're going to bring in Milwaukee, for example. Okay, well, let's get together and vote on this. Should we accept Milwaukee as a franchise? No, they're just they're telling us that, hey, we're going to put a franchise in Milwaukee,
Yep.
and they have to pay a certain amount to get in and all that stuff. I mean, we could go all day about paying, you know,
Yeah, I mean, but sure, okay, the decision's been made, and that gets to the secondary piece. When that
yeah,
decision is made and however much money comes in, what happens with that money? Where does it go?
yeah. Does it go to the USL itself, or does it go to the players? Everybody has a franchise.
It doesn't go to the players currently, I'll tell you that.
No, I mean when you're paying like um, say like what was I'm trying to think what we paid to get in. It wasn't in the astronomical range, say like San Diego FC paid to get into MLS, but we're talking like maybe the 10, 20, maybe $30 million range to get in to get into this league. Obviously, we had it wasn't going to be the five guys that originally ran the club. They had to bring in angel investors to help stipend that. Plus, we had to end up taking like a severance fee to leave the league that we were in to join USL on top of that. So it really restricted the, shall we say, the type of player we were able to get. You know, your payroll had to be limited, of course. Obviously, it's gone up in the last couple of years since said fees and whatnot have been, shall we say, I don't want to say exonerated, but have been taken care of to NISA. But you know, player salaries have obviously the salary. I wouldn't say salary cap because there is no such thing as a salary cap in this league. But the salaries or the amount of money for payroll has been increased over the last couple of years since we first joined the league back in 2022.
Yeah, sure. I mean, those are all individual club decisions, so
Yep,
I can't speak to what Detroit's
absolutely.
decision making on that. I think from a players association standpoint, again, what we're worried about is as a professional player in the USL Championship, what is the minimum experience that you are having? That's from an economic standpoint, that's from a workplace conditions standpoint, that's from a procedure and process standpoint.
Yep, healthcare,
Yeah.
stipends, all that particular stuff as well. So, I mean, it's not easy being a Division two soccer player, but if you're not getting the right kind of treatment out there, say like the proper health care that you need, the proper housing statements that you need to live, especially I mean, different cities call for different costs of living as example. I mean, it costs more, say like if you're playing in New York, for example, than it would be to say like you're playing in. Let me just throw something out, or in Tulsa. Two,
Totally.
two different types of costs of living.
Yeah. Those are all the sorts of issues that we deal with.
So, but yeah, is there anything else that you would like to share with the fans and the supporters in regards to the continuing negotiations, or any final thoughts that you have?
No, again, it's about progression in this league, and we want to see this league grow. Um, I think that the player experience needs to be in balance with that. And, that's what we're working hard to try to get agreement on. We're going to continue from a players association pushing for something that is equitable within where this lands right now, and hopefully continue to progress this league.
All right. And where can people stay connected with?
USL players at USL players, Instagram, Twitter is probably the best place. And yeah, well, it'll be an interesting few weeks here, but hopefully we can get to a deal.
And our hopes is get something done prior to. I mean, they're already talking. They're already got the schedules talking out. I mean, there were home openers they were talking about earlier this week. I know ours is in March 14th, and then the following week we travel to Indy. So there's games being listed on the calendar, and we're hoping that we can progress smoothly and head into 2026 with, I'd say, bigger and better things for the players. The absolute spark plug of this league.
I would say bigger and better things for the league, and that's all parties involved.
Absolutely. Pleasure talking to you, Tobin, and hopefully you have hopefully, like I said, things go well on the negotiating table, and I hope you have a happy and pleasant holiday season.
You too. Thanks for having me on.
All right. Thanks again to Connor Tobin for joining me earlier, discussing the ongoing CBA negotiations between USLPA and the league itself. And a lot of revealing things came out of that interview. One, it's not the clubs against the players, it's mostly
The club against the league.
or the players against the league.
Oh, wow. That's
Because-
kind of weird.
Yeah, well, it's not really weird because USL in general, they let the clubs do what they can do.
Yeah.
And, they're just the, I don't know, how do you say it, sanctioning body?
Yeah.
It sounds like a sanctioning body more than just an operating league of clubs. Say like Major League Baseball or the NHL. We're down the street a little bit from Little Caesars Arena, as a matter of fact, as they're bringing our food right,
Oh, yeah.
right to us here.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Harry's great spot to be. Especially if you want to do a what do you call it, Tiger game, Lions game, whatever. Great place to be. But anyway, as I mentioned, thank you. As I mentioned, the fact that we got a different situation as far as in a unique situation too.
Yes.
Because it's basically the players of the league going after the central, let's just say the sanctioning body here. It sounds like, because they observe more like a sanctioning body than they do an actual league itself. And the contract negotiation is strictly with championship right now, not with League One, but with championship right now.
Yeah, something I didn't know, they do have separate CBA for League One and Championship. They don't have a CBA for the Level One because it haven't been formed yet.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Right. And of course, I think they got something going on as well. I believe with the Super League, but that's a separate entity.
Yeah.
So you got three separate entities that you're dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
The main thing is that I gathered out of that conversation is the same things that we've been talking about. Health care, stipends, minimum salaries. Basic conditions in which the players need to live on.
Yeah.
It's not like you got players rooming with each other right now. Currently.
I've seen a lot of Matt Shelton's old travel videos. You know what I mean?
That's on the road and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But even players that are rooming with each other right now, as it seems. Just to make ends meet and all that stuff. And some clubs are better off than others.
Yeah, he mentioned it. Louisville, one of the better run club in the entire USL, and don't forget the bottom feeders like either Loudoun United, which you mentioned that they have to do it yourself, which is kind of embarrassing.
Yeah,
literally.
They don't have a kit person.
No.
Really, you don't have a kit person doing your stuff.
No.
you know, I mean, if you want to have these ambitions of going Division One and all that stuff, you gotta walk the walk
Yeah.
and not just talk the talk. And
No.
it sounds like right now the USL is basically just talking the talk.
Of something that is not going to arrive until 2027 or 2028, to be honest. You know what I mean?
Exactly, and
Yeah.
I mean, some may be up to that, standard and all that stuff, and and it's like, who knows what we're standing on right now?
Uh-huh.
I mean, when you think about it, who knows what we're standing? What these clubs are standing for, what the USL in general is standing for, as far as this goes.
Uh-huh.
How can they? Another thing too that I brought up the North Carolina situation.
Yes. And the folding teams for the last bit. I've been through it. El Paso. Well, no, not El Paso. Revamp Galley. Excuse me. San Diego Loyal, which was the one with tragic. And yeah, North Carolina, where they only got 10% of their guaranteed contract for 2 months.
And then a pink slip on top of that, because these players aren't getting paid.
No.
I mean, having a guaranteed contract where you're basically what you're doing is you're paying the player for a full year, not just for 10 months.
Yes.
You're paying it through the whole entire year, because obviously these players have got to make appearances. Whether they're marching down Michigan Avenue during the St. Patty's Day parade, doing an appearance on CBS Detroit, promoting a game,
or appearing in school telling kids
how to play the game.
How to play the game, yeah.
I mean, you gotta be able. I mean, you're an employee of the club.
Yes,
you're basically an employee of the club. And if you're granted, you're playing 10 months out of the year, but under that 2-year deal, you're basically still part of the club. You still got to keep up appearances and stuff like that as well. So
until they don't want you anymore,
right? Exactly.
Which we have seen so much during this off season,
which we've seen over very many off seasons. If you ask me. And
especially this offseason when players moving around for new to your deals. I mean,
absolutely. You're seeing it all. And most of these contracts in the league have been 2 years. I mean, you do have clubs that offer that 3rd-year option and whatnot as well. So it's just a matter of, shall we say, you're limited. You're only doing what you can with these players for a short amount of time.
You're right,
and some of these clubs aren't going through the minimum standards.
No,
when you think about it, I mean, whether it be, they don't provide the health care, they don't have an adequate training staff. Somebody goes down, and I brought up ACL injuries, for example. Is that how is the club taking care of that as far as as far as the surgery goes, as far as rehabilitation goes?
Yeah, you're right. We just had one of our best players, Tobin, recently retired because he tried all he can to try to correct a bum knee, and he went for all the resources, and he said it's not worth it anymore.
And another good thing that was brought up in the conversation that I brought, we were talking about is, some of these players, this is not their first and only job.
You're right.
I mean, you look at a situation, say like a Matt Lewis, for example, who went into the real estate field, and ended up retiring the game because he's making more money. He's making far more money doing real estate than he is playing soccer at this point. And he's played a long career. I mean, going through several clubs, and whether it been the Cosmos or Detroit City FC, or playing Kansas City Comets, or on the indoor, just to try to make a living in all that.
Yeah, right.
And then he finds a gig in real estate, and the next thing you know what? I'm making more money doing this than I'm doing playing professional soccer.
Wow. Okay. I'm probably more comfortable doing the real estate business. I know a lot of people who are real estate, including my sister, who's in the real estate business. They make a lot more money. Tell me about it.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, the commissions from details and all that. So,
another prime example. Nate Steinwasser.
Yes.
Steinwasser, great goaltender.
Yes.
For us for several years.
Yes.
Went to the University of Detroit Mercy.
Yes.
Played there. All-league player there. Came to Detroit City FC. Doing the summer thing, then ended up being starting goaltender when we went, full-on professional.
And you're right. And at the same time, he was certified CPA. certified public accountant.
Now, you tell me what makes more, professional soccer player or CPA?
I would say CBA. If like you're no Messi, I know you love the game, you're great at what you do, but then at the end of the day, after all that work, and you have a raising family like Nate have with 3 kids now with his lovely wife, and what? Yeah,
Exactly, and it's just that the thing, they want to get key players to develop like into the Josh Winders or the Wilson Harrises, or even I'll even go even further, Diego Lunas,
Yes.
or of the world. The ones that came in through USL got better, ended up getting on, playing worldwide, end up playing on national teams. You want to have that, but you want to be able to pay those players an adequate amount just to keep them, and just to keep them, keep them honing their talents in that league.
yeah, I agree.
And they want to be able to have a decent, earn a decent living. I mean, when you're looking at it this way, if your minimum salary is like $26,000, that's like working at a gas station.
Or buying a car.
No, you're buying a car for how can you buy a car with $26,000?
You can't.
I mean,
No.
but grant you, the thing is, it's just basic living. Basic human not decency, basic human rights.
You're right.
The right to health care, the right to a good salary,
Yeah.
the right to afford housing, wherever you're staying at.
And it reminded me of Matt Shelton, who recently retired. If you saw his videos on becoming elite, he's, he have a life, he have a wife, he have 2 kids. You have to keep up the pace.
And he loved the game,
and all
too.
that. And he does, yeah.
He absolutely loves the game.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for him, and a player like Stephen Carroll
Yeah.
as well, they played until the wheels fell off.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not long in this league. Not many players go, they come, either come from college or come from academies and stuff like that. You have that 10-year window from like 20 till you're 30 to become an effective player and an effective professional.
And when you reach your mid-30s saying, okay, do I still have the gut to play it? Who knows?
Absolutely. And it's, like I said, we're hoping that an agreement can get done.
Yes. I hope there is
Yeah.
agreement, because we want to have our celebration at Keyword.
Yes, of the final season at Keyword. Speaking of which,
All right.
speaking
Let's
of
talk
which,
about other news.
yes, let's talk about other news. Speaking of which, of Keyword, we found out what our first 2 games are going to be
I know.
of the season. So
The season will be-
partially, we got a schedule reveal here.
Yeah. The season will begin March 7th. I read the entire home schedule.
Detroit City on a bye.
Yeah. We will not start on March 14th at 4 o'clock on the last season at Cure Stadium. First, because this will be the first home game to start the season. The last 4 years we've been on the road.
And my apologies on the Brooklyn crust, because it's kind of, delved in the red there. So I'm trying to work on the.
But we have a full of
Yeah.
the Brooklyn crust, which have the Brooklyn.
But you can't see it with the
Yeah.
pinkish red there. But so apologies on the crust there, by the way.
Brooklyn.
But Brooklyn playing their second game in USL Championship against us on March 14th. Our first game, first time that we're going to be at home
Yes.
for the opening game of the season.
Yes.
And that's after taking a week off. The rest of the schedule has not been revealed as of yet.
Yeah, we're waiting.
Only just the home openers. But we do go on the road the following Saturday in USL.
We'll be guests for Indy 11, who just made a splash by standing the MVP of the playoffs, Eric Deck, who was between the pipe for Pittsburgh. And
more nightmares for us on the road. And of course, remember the nightmare last year on the road, in which we were up 2-0, and then next thing you know, we end up giving up 2 goals to Elvis Amo, and that ended up being a 2-2 draw.
But Eric Dick going from Pittsburgh to Indy, it's a big gap.
Yes, and
It's a big gap.
Indy just missed the playoffs last year.
Yeah.
They were in the 9th spot.
You're right.
But that's going to be a huge get. Hunter Sulte, another great goaltender of theirs, no longer going to be with. He was on loan. He was a loanee for the last couple of years for Indy 11, and now will not be coming back. But that's a big coup on the Indy side of things.
With the
gaining
with
last year's goaltender of the year and arguably the MVP of the USL Championship.
Yeah, what a great defense
of the
for
USL
Pittsburgh.
Championship playoffs.
Yeah, who's very on. And not only that, not only Eric Dick also left Pittsburgh, but their defender, all defender pro Steve Suber.
Sean Suber.
Sean Suber, he also announced he's leaving Pittsburgh as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's another name that's out there right now. Rumblings are going on with Detroit City as far as getting players and all that. Once we reveal them, we'll let you know. We're not in the business of doing rumors.
All right, but do you think they're in the mech for Sean Chuber? Maybe if the price is right.
If the price is right, it remains to be seen. To be honest with you,
where's Bob Barker when you need him? And by the way, this is his heavenly birthday. He's still up there saying, "Come on down. Want to play bingo?"
I could still envision him, punching Happy Gilmore.
I did see Happy Gilmore too. He make a cameo near the end. I won't spoil it. You have to watch that.
But nonetheless, but those are the first two games. In between that, though, will be the first round proper of the U.S. Open Cup.
You're right.
So that'll be taking place either the 17th, I believe it would be. Yeah, 17th and 18th will be the game. So count on a game probably on St. Patty's Day.
Yeah, and don't forget there will be fewer teams this year because of the World Cup.
80 teams in the U.S. Open Cup.
But it will be for this year only.
Right. So, but yeah, we won't know what that draw is going to be. My guessing is it's going to be a local team. I believe Michigan Rangers are one of the amateur teams that made it through. Also, Flint City Bucks are one of the teams that made it through. So count on possibly a local draw for that first match.
I know.
In
the Stars are no longer there. Also Gold Coast. So hey, those two teams.
Yep. Yeah, count on. It's probably going to be one of those two teams that'll either be visiting Keyworth, or we might be going to one of those places. I'm not saying Michigan Rangers might be, but
where is Michigan Rangers, by the way?
I think they're out. I think they're outside. They're on the west side of the state.
That the flip side of the state. Oh my.
Yeah. Our chances are the closest one, obviously, is Flint.
I know.
So I mean, obviously,
I'll
skip and jump from my house.
I know I can hitch a ride by bus or anybody. So hey, if you need me, if we go Michigan Broad, I'm always available.
Let's see if you could get. Well, let's see. DOT to SEPTA.
No,
smart. I don't know where I could pick you up at. Then travel up Trixie Highway.
I know.
But anyway, but we'll find out soon enough as far as our U.S. Open Cup opponent will be in the coming weeks or so.
Okay.
Another thing that's been going on as of late, hate to go in front of you with your food, but the MASL has started.
Oh, yeah. And I was, there was no live streaming last week before the game against us against the Youngstown Nighthawks. We did well.
Oh, yeah, we did
very well.
We did quite well. So, we did quite well on that match. The first match, 17-2. It was the final.
It wasn't even close.
It wasn't even close at all, shall we say?
They scored a 7-5 in the second period to cinch the deal, literally. And figuratively.
Trying to find the results on that one, but let's go. Well, we got the stats actually on that one. Hannah Crum with a hat trick in that contest.
Not only did she the good comedian for us during soccer night, but a great sport too.
Pretty damn good player. I'll just say it that way.
Yeah.
I'll just say it that way. You know. No, obviously 2025 Black Arrow Award winner for the women. Also getting a hat trick, Katie Coleman. With 3 goals on last week over in Youngstown. Ania Dow with 2 goals, Mackenzie Ruber with 2 goals and an assist, Megan Varant with 2 goals and an assist. Solo goal scorers: Amanda Britton, Aaron Torrance, Kayla Addison, Ella Karolak, and Zoe Greenhall all contributed for Detroit City FC in a shall we say, a lambasting of the Youngstown Nighthawks.
You're right. First the 2. Don't forget they'll come home near the end of the season. Mm-hmm. The next game is against SC Boron of Kitchener, Ontario, Canada. That's the week before our first game.
Yeah.
At home, guess what? Same team.
Yeah. So.
And by that time, we will have the full schedule for that. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't see many here. None of the goals came on the power play, so no penalties were recorded during the night. So I mean, that's a
pretty good,
pretty clean match there as far as that goes. But Detroit had 4 in the first, 7 in the second, 5 in the third, and 1 in the fourth.
I know. The first goal by Youngstown didn't come until near the end of the third.
Yep, and
that was way too little, way too late.
Way too little, way too late. And then they scored a goal with 2:53 in the 2:53 left in the period, and then Detroit City on an even strength closed it out in the with 1:15 remaining in the match. So big win for Detroit City there. Okay. Back at it as you mentioned next week, or the 27th against FC Berlin. Following week, they will be heading home.
I know.
For the big man.
Before we wrap this up, our special emergency edition, I know the last time we did a proper soccer night, it was a taping on the MLS Cup Day.
Yes.
And unfortunately, Madcap worst nightmare came true. The Pink Pony Club is your 2005 MLS champion. I presume you got disgusted.
I turned it off after the third goal.
I know.
I didn't want to see the trophy celebration.
Unfortunately, I did see the trophy celebration. You have to have the trophy celebration.
And I'll tell you what, my Facebook feed has been flooded with David Beckham and Lionel Messi ever since.
Oh, my.
Although yesterday, I think there was a thing going on, or this morning, there was a thing going on in India. They did like a Messi World Tour thing.
Yeah.
People were upset with the fact that he was surrounded by his VIP people and whatnot. And stadium looked like it was jam packed.
Oh.
People paying, and I'm going in American dollars here.
Okay.
Because it was like, I don't know how much ruble, whatever their form of currency is over there.
Yeah.
People paid as much as $40 a ticket to see him.
Oh my!
To see a glimpse of him.
Of Messi.
They got upset, started throwing chairs, throwing beer bottles,
Oh my God.
throwing anything and everything out on the pitch. They couldn't even see him as far as the, shall we say, get even a glimpse of him.
Yeah.
You know how upset they would be at looking at those World Cup ticket prices?
That was another big story today, and this is the reason why dynamic pricing is ruining everything in sport. You saw what happened with Taylor Swift. You saw what happened in the Lions game. Now we're seeing this with the World Cup ticket prices, which is
$6,000 for the final. Are you kidding me?
Are you
for
freaking kidding me? Oh my God!
I mean, come on here. I get it. You want to appeal to the corporate America and all that stuff, but here's the bottom line. You're shutting out the common fan, the backbone of this game.
Right.
This game is played by laborers, played by immigrants, played by those that are less than well off. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
This is supposed to be the people's game.
Yeah,
You could imagine if that. And I made that point on one of the posts. It's like, just imagine if they saw India happens to make it to the World Cup.
Yeah, and they're not.
That $40.
Yeah.
You think they're bitching about $40 now? Wait till they see the price just to get into a
group cup game,
a group stage game.
And that's ridiculous too. That's ridiculous too.
Yeah, because they can't afford it. They simply can't afford it.
That's the problem. Dynamic pricing. We have seen it ruin everything. Well, Taylor Swift, it was driven by dynamic pricing. The Lions' success, dynamic pricing. That's the problem. We don't have it's high. It can't be what 10,000, 15,000. Like what the hell?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I mean, totally ridiculous.
It
right
is.
there.
And
So,
that's coming off last week's World Cup draw, which was brother. I don't want to get into it. Most of it.
if you want a breakdown of it,
yeah.
we have the episode of it.
Yeah, but most
in the
people
library.
saying this was an abomination, especially the participation trophy or whatever that is. I don't know. Anyway.
We
But
won't
by the
even
way,
forget.
before I get off the MLS side, I think Vancouver Whitecaps to the final may have saved their franchise from moving. Late this week,
Friday.
on Friday, the Vancouver Whitecaps in the city of Vancouver signed a memorandum of understanding. That means they have an agreement to build a new stadium at Hastings Park, which is an abandoned racetrack.
They just finished their season or their racing season. The final race happened there like last week sometime.
I know.
And it looks like that there's possibility that they will be playing there. They originally played at the old Pacific National Exhibition.
Yes.
Prior to moving
BC place, yeah.
prior to BC place, and that was back in the days of playing in
NASL
and USL as well. So,
And yeah, that run probably saved their season, by the way. But they
absolutely.
wish they had that go back. Did you see this during the that they had a surefire girl hit the left post, then into the right post. The Vancouver player got the rebound, hit it, guess what? Hit the same post. Triple doink.
Frustration.
Oh my God.
Frustration. in
God
general,
bless
so.
his heart, man.
But anyway, we will have our special year-ender coming up Christmas week. Be on the lookout for that.
Yes.
It'll be, my top 5, his top 5.
We will have a festival poll and a
And-
Christmas tree at the same time.
Yes, we will be doing the airing of the grievances as well, and all kinds of other stuff, all kinds of other updates. Maybe give another SC Berlin preview if we want to. I mean, there's really not much to talk about when you think about that.
Well, we're in the off season. We're seeing Premier League and Bundesliga and all that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And then hopefully, might share some signings with you as well. So
Yeah.
we'll
And
see
by the
what
way,
happens.
and don't forget the 2026 schedule. When that drops, our first game will preview FC Berlin, and we'll go down the schedule, including the date and the opponent for the final ever game, regular season, at Keyword.
Yes, the final regular season at Keyworth is upon us. So
Yes.
we're just down the street from our first home, which
Gas
was
Tech.
Gas Tech. So
That was something, but they overgrown that.
yes, they have, and
Yeah.
of course they've overgrown Keyworth onto
And
better
now
things.
we're going to play in a 15,000 seat stadium at the time next year.
Yes.
Imagine the buzz.
Oh,
Imagine the buzz.
Oh, can't wait. So,
Okay.
all righty. For Steve here, thank you for joining us for this special edition of Soccer Night in Detroit. We will talk to you sometime before Festivus or right around Festivus.
I know.
And until then, folks, keep your feet in the ground. Keep reaching for the galaxy.